Hello, I'm Dave Hill. I'm the publisher and editor of the journalism website onlondon.co.uk. This edition of the True London podcast is concerned with London's employers, its workforce and its economy. Later we'll be looking ahead to the budget, but first we're going to discuss jobs, skills and training with my guest Muniya Barua, who is Deputy Chief Executive of Business London. That's a highly influential organisation which represents many of the capital's biggest employers. Muniya, welcome. Businesses in London have been saying for a long time that it is very difficult for them to hire the employees they need. So what exactly is the problem?
Hi, Dave. If you just go back to Business London's mission, it's about making London the best place in the world to do business. And you can't do that if businesses can't access the talent they need to grow. So the main thing that we're trying to fix is making it easier for firms to access the talent they need to grow, whether that's from at home or abroad.
And is it a problem with the education system in London? Is it to do with the sort of rather complicated world of specific skills training? Is it to do with migration, not being able to get workers from abroad, or is it all of those things?
I mean, you've hit the nail on the head, Dave. I mean, it's a combination of factors, and this is a really complex issue. I mean, right, if you look back to when Business London, or London First as it was then, started out, one of the first things our founding fathers did was incubate Teach First, the charity to get more brilliant teachers into schools. And London's labour market's really complicated. It's you've got the most qualified workforce in the UK, but you've got the highest unemployment. It's an unequal labour market. Some people really struggle to enter the jobs market, and that goes. The challenge is from early years support through to what the curriculum looks like, to incentives for training, to demographic and political challenges like Brexit. So there's not really one single cause, but there are lots of different things that sort of feed into the skills challenge. And we surveyed, I think it's about 1,000 business leaders earlier this year, and it was 8 out of 10 that had live vacancies, and close to half of them were struggling to fill them. So it was a problem then, it's a problem now, and it's just getting ever more complicated.
I mean, it's a weird thing when you're sort of looking at it from the outside, as I do, that London's schools famously are fantastically good and have improved massively from where they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And yet, there seems to be a sort of bit missing after, perhaps particularly the ones that don't go to the young people who don't go on to university, perhaps, with making that jump from being sort of well qualified in lots of ways, but somehow not having the particular skills and qualifications that employers are looking for. So is this to do with further education? Where does the problem really lie with that sort of group of younger people?
So again, it's a complicated issue, and some of it's about poor careers advice. Some of it's about the curriculum not being responsive. Some of it is frankly about employers struggling to articulate their skills needs. I mean, you might be able to say what you need in the here and now, but it's really difficult to predict what you might need in 3 or 4 years' time. So I think the role for us has been very much about trying to address the mismatch between the skills that businesses need now, and trying to get them to look ahead to what they might need in the future, to the skills education providers are delivering. And there is obviously, with some courses, there's a bit of a lag in developing them. So this isn't to criticise education providers. You need time to develop courses, and you need to make sure that you've got the staff to deliver them. So it's really, our role is addressing that mismatch and trying to make it easier for firms to access those skills.
Okay, let me ask you one more thing about the sort of what do we call them, school leavers, or perhaps older people who are looking to improve their skills. So I went to a really interesting event on this subject earlier in the year, and there were four extremely well-informed panelists, but all of them sort of agreed with each other that it's really very complicated. Where do you start?
Again, I think I'd agree with your panelists. This is really difficult, and one of the things that we've been lobbying quite hard on is the need for a London-wide career service for all ages. So obviously the big focus tends to be on young people, and there's a really big issue around particularly people that aren't in education and training at the moment. But equally, London has very high levels of labour market inactivity, and that can be parents, carers, older people. And in a world where firms are suffering from skill shortages, you need to make it easy for people to find out how they can access jobs, how they can access training. On the flip side, employers also find the skills system really hard to navigate because there are lots of different schemes, there are apprenticeships, there are boot camps. So one of the things that the Mayor has introduced, and this sort of falls into some of the work that we've been doing, bringing stakeholders together to identify some of the challenges and the solutions, is they've set up a kind of mini hub called Grow London, which helps firms, through a website portal navigate some of the different schemes available. Yeah. But none of this stuff is easy.
Now, you just mentioned some of the work that Business London has been doing, and so we're thinking, both of us, I think, about your London Local Skills Improvement Plan. So tell us a bit more about that and what you think you've managed to achieve with it so far.
So it's called the LSIP for short. They're a national initiative. They were introduced by the last government about 3 years ago, and this was very much the kind of answer to the clarion call of employers for an employer-led skills system. And we are the lead body that runs that on behalf of the business community. So it's not a Business London only initiative. We run it in partnership with our friends at CBI London, the London Chamber of Commerce, and FSB London. So it has big support from the wider business community. And what we're doing is essentially bringing businesses together with education providers. Quite a lot of those are in our membership. We have a lot of FE colleges in membership, as well as leading London universities, but also London government. And what we've done is a really deep dive analysis on the state of the labour market. And we've identified some of the problems which are as old as the hills that we've touched on. Why is there a skills crisis? And some of the sort of key themes that emerge where businesses are really struggling to access skills are digital skills. And that's at both ends of the spectrum. So really basic, can you use email? Can you do stuff on Excel? Through to advanced digital skills. There's a challenge around green skills to support the net zero transition, and there's a challenge around transferable skills. So what the LSIP has done is basically set out an action plan to sort of tackle some of these issues. It's a very big report, but we do sort of mini progress reports, the Department for Education, every year that you can find on our website. And I guess in terms of what it's achieved, it's trying to shift the dial on something very complicated. So it's making steady progress, but there's a lot more work to do. But I'd say some of the key areas that we're really pleased about is that there's a lot more engagement between business and education providers that we've been able to facilitate, and that's led to more co-creation and co-design of courses. So some of the FE colleges in London, Capital City, London South East, New City College, have got these amazing immersive labs where, if you're, you're doing a course to install a heat pump, you can go into like a VR style environment, and that's been sort of designed in partnership with business. We're also seeing, more an uptick in work experience placements and a modest uplift in apprenticeships. So I think for us, the sort of partnership approach between business, educators, and London government has been quite powerful.
Oh, right. So there's been some useful tie-in with the
Yeah,
London government, which is itself is a very complicated thing, isn't it?
we've worked really closely with the boroughs and the sub-regional partnerships in particular. So in the LSIP report, there are four sort of deeper dives from each of London's sub-regional partnerships. And obviously we've worked really closely with the GLA team. And for this year's LSIP, we're actually co-running it with the GLA, which gives, greater support, greater backing, but also makes sense because so much of the mayor has the adult education budget within his gift, so he's able to tilt that funding towards some of the areas that the LSIP identifies as an issue. So Grow London is a really good example of that.
Yeah. So in our last 2 or 3 minutes, shall we look ahead to the budget? I'm writing a newsletter at the moment for my adoring public, and just saying that actually this has been rather an encouraging week for the capital in terms of pre-budget leaks. Thamesmead, the visitor levy, I know there's a range of views about that, but it's something that the mayor has been trying to get. And also I think perhaps some encouraging news on the fair funding review that London Councils has welcomed. So what's your general feeling about the budget, and what are you as Business London hoping for from it?
So, if you'd asked me a couple of days ago, I probably would have been a bit gloomier. But you're absolutely right. The news about DLR to Thamesmead is fantastic. So, that will have such a transformational impact on what's a really deprived part of London in terms of unlocking more housing. So, going to bank that one. Very, very pleased with that. Long-standing Business London ask. Fair funding, I'll keep my powder slightly dry on that because I think even London councils are waiting to see the allocations, but the early signs on that look a bit more encouraging. They've taken into account sort of levels of deprivation and used more up-to-date data. Our concern is that, obviously boroughs need to fund those essential services. There's a statutory duty, but it's things like litter, which sort of are really important from an investability point of view to the attractiveness of the city. So ensuring particularly inner London boroughs aren't considerably worse off is where we'll be looking. So we'll look at the detail when that comes out. And the tourist tax is an interesting one. I mean, we probably would have said before the trials that consider the timing. Is this the right time? The hospitality industry's been been through the ringer with COVID and minimum wage, national insurance rises. I think on that, the key thing that we've said in our conversations with government is that it should go to London. I mean, obviously we're in favour of the principle that London raises and retains more of its taxes, and now it's about implementation. So that money should be invested in London, and great care and consultations required with the industry to make sure that it doesn't dampen hiring and investment in a sector that's really critical to the vibrancy and attractiveness of London. More broadly on the budget, we would like... So over the summer, Dave, you might have seen some of the coverage. We did quite a lot of work with our members looking at what would make London an attractive place to invest, and the mood from our members was actually there was a real window of opportunity for London to seize a bigger slice of global capital. And what you really need is government to better pitch London to the world, but also knock down some of those barriers to growth. And that's pretty much what Business London does. From our mission to sort of day-to-day delivery, it's about knocking down those barriers. So that needs to feed through to the budget. So really what we want to see is a budget that doesn't doesn't jeopardise growth, and in fact does no harm to growth. So the sorts of things we don't want to see are a higher education levy, which would be bad for universities and send out the wrong message. We would not want to see a landfill tax, because that's going to add to the cost of development. I think it's around 40k to a new home. And some of the kite flying that we've seen in recent weeks, I'm pleased that some of the stuff has been ruled out. So a tax on partnerships, which would have hit our professional services, which are also an industrial strategy sector. I think that's now been ruled out, which is a good thing. And then more broadly, just targeting investment on where government can get more bang for buck and really leverage private sector investment. So, the announcement on Thamesmead is fantastic, but if you are going to have a visitor levy or a tourist tax, then why not restate VAT-free shopping alongside that, and that would have a transformational impact. So our message on the budget is do no harm to growth and actively back growth.
Okay, and the tax on shopping is this sort of VAT-free thing where just explain a little bit for people who maybe don't know about that, what that is and what the argument is there.
So when I was in Paris a couple of weeks ago for half term, and there are signs up in all of the sort of central Paris department stores in English, claim your VAT back. So when you buy your goods, you claim VAT back, and they make it so easy for you. So you can literally, in some shops, just get the cash in your hand back. With others, you can just scan a barcode. Now, we ended that scheme over here. Liz Truss, in her disastrous budget, it was one of the bright spots. She brought it back, and it's been taken back off the table. And when other European cities run VAT-free schemes, you've kind of got to ask yourself, well, we're really missing a trick here. So our argument would be that if you restate VAT-free shopping, we lure those high-spending tourists over here to spend more of their cash in London, but also places like Bicester and the Trafford Centre. So it's not just a London-centric thing, and that would be good for a whole range of sectors, for the whole ecosystem. So, we'd be delighted if we could get VAT-free shopping.
Okay, so to wrap up, I think you said you'd like to see the government pitching London to the world. So do you think they could be doing a bit more of that?
Well, I mean, I suppose some of the rhetoric around London has always been, a little bit sort of London versus the rest of the country, and we just don't see it that way. If you really want to get growth going, then London's it's a cliche, but it's true, is the engine of the economy. It counts for about a quarter of growth, and we work really closely with business groups across the regions because we're interconnected, and a successful London means a successful country.
Oh, couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you so much, Muniya. It's been lovely talking to you, and we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for everyone for watching and listening. Bye.